Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about bikes and Bitcoin. I recently listened to Michael Saylor's talk that he did where he gave 21 rules for Bitcoin, and that got me thinking, and I thought they're very good. I really enjoy listening to Saylor's take on all of this stuff, and I think that time will be very fortunate to him, because I think he will be proved to be right about a lot of this stuff. Obviously, because I like Bitcoin too and buy it too. And so I want to talk about, he gave 21 rules for Bitcoin, and a lot of them were, maybe you could say like how Bitcoin affects you, or how you learn about Bitcoin. And after this week, which this week is it's been a fairly brutal week in Bitcoin price action, and so I wanted to talk about one way that I kind of deal with the volatility of Bitcoin. And I know a lot of people, especially like if you go on crypto Twitter or X, and just look through the all the posts that are coming up. I mean, they're all such hopium and then such doom and gloom. It's such a weird combination of stuff that is going on, and honestly none of it's really helpful. Like today was the whole thing about, Michael Dell reposted something from Michael Saylor, and it's like, regardless of if Michael Dell buys any Bitcoin, maybe he even owns Bitcoin already, who knows, regardless of him, I'm still gonna buy Bitcoin, and I'm still going to study Bitcoin, and I'm still going to tell other people about Bitcoin. Not that I'm overly trying to convince people to buy it, but when I have the chance to talk about it with people, or when I have or when people ask about it, I definitely take the chance to tell them about it. So but there's so much. There's the hype, there's the disappointment. I think Bitcoin closed somewhere around like 63.5 maybe today, and so I just want to talk about how do we deal with the price volatility. And I saw this quote from Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, and it was something about just like stop looking at the price, like you need to just stop paying attention to it and go do something else. And I really, really agree with that. And that's why I think, like, at least for me, riding motorcycles is so nice and just takes my mind right off of it, right? It doesn't matter what happens to the price. As Max Kaiser says, everything else is going to zero against Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter. I didn't buy Bitcoin because I wanted to sell it this month or this year or anything like that. I'm not day trading it. And so I think it's just really, really good. And this would be my, kind of like, if there was rules of how to cope with Bitcoin and how to invest in Bitcoin, it would be stop watching the price so much, because there were several times this week where the price went up quite a bit, and then it right back down. It's just like, I don't know how to explain that. It went vertical for a second and then vertical again down for a second, and so that's why I just think it's so good. Have a hobby, have something else. Don't just I'm heavily allocated to Bitcoin. I'm heavily allocated to Bitcoin, but I'm not going to sell my motorcycles. I'm not going to get rid of everything and just zero in, watch the price my whole entire life, and say, you know, it's not going fast enough. I think, honestly, it's going pretty quick. Like, Donald Trump is all of a sudden very pro-Bitcoin. Biden is trying to act like he's pro-Bitcoin because Trump came out as pro-Bitcoin, and RFK is trying to, so it's like, it's now a mainstream topic. And so I just see no reason to sit here and fuss about it. There's so much coming. Whether Mike Waddell's buying or not doesn't really matter to me. Honestly, whether Michael Saylor buys more or not doesn't really matter. I feel like he's doing all these convertible debt offerings, and it's not really impacting the price very much. You can't really tell and be like, oh wow, look at, she's dancing, she's having a good time. But yeah, it's like, from looking at the price chart, I can't even tell you when Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are buying Bitcoin. It's just, it's not even that much volume. I mean, you look at the market cap and it's like, it's not that much. So yeah, that's gonna be, that's my piece of advice. If you're fairly new to Bitcoin and you're just sitting here, especially if you feel like you bought at the top and you're like, why did I do this? I've only ever been in the red. If you're fairly new to Bitcoin or anything like that, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin should be a long-term investment. I think Warren Buffett talks about this, where he says, you know, you should be happy buying, or like anything he buys, he'd be happy holding for like 5 years or like a bunch of time. And so it's like, yeah, it's just, you know, just my attitude towards it. And so, especially when there's, I mean, to me it seems kind of ridiculous that we're having Ethereum ETFs and Solana ETFs and all this stuff, because it's like, well, what are we gonna have, Dogecoin ETFs, like Shiba ETFs? Like, where, at what point is it just kind of silly and ridiculous, you know? Because to me it's just like, there's no point. Like, we can't, why would we want ETFs of all these products? Why wouldn't you just want to go buy the real product, if you really liked it that much? So anyway, that's my opinion on that. I think personally that everything is going super well in the Bitcoin world. The fact that we're down a couple percent this week or month is not that big of a deal. You know, if you've been in it long enough, then you are probably still up. And if you're new to it and you're thinking about giving up on it, then you know, I would say don't give up, because I felt that way too. I feel like I bought at the top and never got to see profit for a while, and I'll just say I'm very glad I stuck with it, and I'm very glad I didn't bail out, and I'm glad I just spent time studying Bitcoin. That's what I'll say. You know, like, spend less time looking at the price chart, because the price chart tells you very little. I think that's another Warren Buffettism, right? He says, like, the price of a stock tells you actually very little about it, because it might seem expensive, but until you actually dig into the numbers and all that stuff and really understand it, you won't know, just based off the stock price. And that's kind of the way it is with Bitcoin, where it's like, the price, you know, I would say it's still a substantial bargain at $70,000. And I am not here to give anyone the hopium that, like, oh, it's going to skyrocket. All of a sudden, the people on, you know, crypto Twitter being like, oh, there's going to be a God candle, and we're going straight vertical, and you're going to wake up and Bitcoin will be $250,000. Probably not. And honestly, I don't know that any politician would actually make Bitcoin legal tender in the US, because I just feel like they might think that that's weakening their power with the US dollar. I don't know that they want, any of the candidates would want, you know, to do that. Although I would love, personally, I would love for it to be legal tender. But I'm also really not gonna complain that I can't go buy, like, all my little purchases, like fill up my gas tank with Bitcoin, right? I'm not really gonna complain about that personally. So fine with me that the Fiat's still around. I'm happy to pay in dollars to fill up my gas tank. But anyway, that's why I think this is my first kind of episode. I had this thought, maybe I'll do bikes and Bitcoin. Let me know what you think, and if I should keep going with it. So anyway, thanks, and go out and do something. Stop looking at the price chart. I'll see you guys later.